I don't know why it's so fucking hard to say that you're just anti-abortion because of your religious beliefs. You don't have to say pro-life because it can be debunked by bringing up guns. And you would immediately fold.
Tucker Carlson saying happy
Fuck
Monday.
it.
The good news stories just keep coming. Here's one of them. So when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade this past
Why don't you
year,
have 180p? Like, your Fox News, you can afford like better quality video.
for this, Democrats howled in outrage. For weeks, every hour on MSNBC sounded like a plot summary from The Handmaid's Tale. Theocracy rising! They'll be burning witches! Liberals seemed genuinely upset, and probably most were, but on some level, not very deep beneath the surface, the people who run the Democratic Party weren't upset at all. They were thrilled. Here finally was an issue for them to run on in the midterm elections. It was an issue perfectly suited to a party that had nothing else to talk about. Are they going to brag about Joe Biden? I don't think so. So it was going to be abortion. They're going to take your abortions away.
Well, that is true, though. They have threatened to do that.
That was the Democratic message for the midterm elections, the ones that are coming up in just a few days. But there was a problem with the messaging. So COVID had just ended, and people, not being entirely stupid, still remembered that this very same Democratic Party, the same people, had forced the entire population to wear paper masks like children, and then to take the shot as a condition of going outside.
The mask help prevent spreading the virus. I don't know how hard it is to understand. I just talked with, for example, my doctor yesterday, and he asked me why I wore the mask. He was also wearing. She was also wearing the mask. I said because it helps prevent spreading the virus if I had one. And she asked me where did I get the info. I said, well, the WHO provided the info because the COVID particles are always attached to your saliva or something else. So it's actually bigger than water particles, and you still use umbrella when it's raining, even though the water particles are thousands of times smaller than the COVID particles. So that's the reason why I wore a mask, because it helps prevent the spread. And she was actually really thrilled that I understood like the science behind it. And she said that many of people who are against masks would be outraged if any surgeon or medical professional would stop wearing masks during, for example, surgeries. There would be infections all everywhere.
So women have the right to control their own bodies? They used to tell us that. And then they fired thousands of nurses for refusing to submit to an experimental vaccine.
That's kind of a jackass thing to do in hindsight, to bash people who made quick decisions on a completely new pandemic where we didn't really know much about it. So everything that was decided in the first year and a half was basically just updated as we went on. So I don't like people like Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan bashing the decisions that were made in 2020, 2021. I think that's completely like unjustified and really fucking being a dick. Hindsight is always 2020. But yeah, back then it was a consensus that actually was the most important thing to do. Now we know better. But back then it was like justifiable. Now it probably wouldn't be.
So the phrase, my body, my choice, had been, as we say in the news business, overtaken by events. Clearly, Democrats needed a new slogan, a new way to talk about abortion. Unfortunately, nobody could think of one. Your body, my choice? No, that wouldn't work. It was too real. So in the end, liberals just dusted off the same old talking points and pretended like COVID never happened. Watch.
The midterm election is now less than 3 weeks away. And in the final stretch, I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed, frankly, this like gaslighting of women voters. This message that says, oh, you don't really care about your right to control your own bodies, dears. It's the economy, stupid. You've got a media narrative that says that women don't really care about abortion, that women don't really mind if the states control their bodies. They don't care about that. They just care about the price of milk.
Yeah, it would be a shame if states got to control people's bodies.
You can't really compare COVID to abortions. Like, that's a worldwide pandemic compared to like aborting an unwanted thing inside you that isn't even human yet. So you can't compare those two together. You have to be a real fucking dumbass to do that. Oh, there's Tucker Carlson, a real fucking dumbass to do that. Like, those aren't comparable. Nationwide in the in America and worldwide, virus compared to abortion, they are not comparable. Abortions don't spread from person to person. One woman having an abortion, if he sneezes onto another one, they don't have the urge to get an abortion. Abortions don't work like that. I can teach Tucker Carlson how abortions work because apparently he doesn't know about them.
Like telling people what to wear on their faces or what drugs they have to be injected with. That'd be like The Handmaid's Tale. Theocracy!
Again, you can't really compare COVID with abortions.
Next, they'll be trying to control what you read on social media. Oh, wait. It's all...
Like, you're comparing oranges to apples, like two different things. Like, social media, that's a private company. They can actually decide what to speak. Like, Tucker Carlson speaks so much shit. I don't understand how they give him a spot. Oh yeah, his family.
Pretty amusing. And the good news is that for once, lines this preposterous are not working. Abortion politics is a total fixation of Democratic donors. It's the main thing they care about. Why is that, by the way? It's a religion. It's a child sacrifice cult. But not everyone else feels that way, even Democrats.
Sacrifice.
As the Daily Caller just reported, polls show that, quote, abortion is not a top priority for female voters. In fact, quote, most women support abortion limits that would have been considered unconstitutional under the Roe v. Wade precedent. Oh, so it looks like yelling about abortion is definitely not going to be enough to keep Democrats in control of the Congress. Are you surprised by that? No, of course not. You live here. So how did the highly paid and admittedly pretty smart strategists who figure out what the issues are in the Democratic Party so misjudge this one? Well, they did what a lot...
Okay, I have to say that polls in the United States are so fucking fabricated. I wouldn't take anything from that. Like, just remember how fucking big of a landslide Hillary Clinton was supposed to have. Didn't really happen. So I'm not believing any polls. There are studies that I've seen that majority of the women do actually agree with the abortion laws that have been done outside of the United States, which is more credible than within the United States.
A lot of us do. They forgot that not everyone is like them. Not everyone in America is as miserable as they are. In fact, there are still plenty of people in this country, believe it or not, who have happy marriages. There are still people who love their kids and their grandchildren. Still people who consider babies a blessing, not just an obstacle to better vacation. Now, some of those people, maybe a lot of those people, might still consider themselves, quote, pro-choice, but they're hardly pro-abortion. They don't think abortion is a positive good. It's not. They don't consider...
Why is it that, like, I don't understand why abortion needs to be a negative thing or a positive thing. It can be both. Like, you can't... The point of, like, Christian Republicans like Tucker Carlson is to demonize abortion to be a killing of a child, which it isn't. But they're really fucking happy about childs dying every fucking day, people dying every day of mass shootings and guns, which is ironic, really fucking ironic. And the majority of the people who actually agree with gun laws are Republicans and right-wingers like Tucker Carlson. But that's not pro-life. They are not pro-life about gun laws. They are about pro-choice. It's my freedom, my guns. They are not pro-life. They are just anti-abortion.
Consider it liberation, and they definitely don't see abortion, as Janet Yellen recently claimed, as the answer to our national economic problems. She said that. So here's how it works. Janet Yellen gets rich giving speeches to the companies she regulates. That's corruption, but she's never charged. She's still free. In fact, she's the Treasury Secretary. And you get poorer. But we have a solution.
Yeah, like, let's not talk about NRA, which is again like tied into abortions. The Republicans and the far right is pro-life except when it comes to guns. It's not okay for a person to speak when it's tied to abortions, like to give speeches and being in the Congress. But it's for some reason okay for an NRA lobbyist to be in the Congress. And NRA is actually heavily lobbying the Republican Party. Like Ted Cruz basically could just tattoo an NRA logo on his forehead, like in NASCARs.
Solution: you just need to have more abortions. That's what she said. That's the message.
Not
selling.
Hassan, though.
And maybe not surprisingly, it doesn't work. That's not what voters want. So what do voters want? What do they care about? Well,
okay, I have to give you like an explanation. What Democrats is like, trying to figure out what like could make lives better, and also they are hating on Republicans. They are thinking about their voters. Republicans are doing the exact same thing and also shitting on the Democrats. Like, that's why I said the last time we talked about bullshit that Tucker Carlson said, that American elections are fucking dumb because they focus majority of the time just like bashing the opposing side. That's why, for example, here in Finland, we have a better fucking democratic elections because we have a multi-party elections, so we don't have just two parties, and you have to choose between the two shitty ones that actually don't say what they're gonna do. They're saying what the opposing side is going to do and why it's fucking bad. They are the fucking demon. In our elections, the parties say what we're gonna do, unless you're the far left or the far right, which is always shitting on each other the same way as Republicans and Democrats, even though they aren't the far right and the far left. Like, they are basically the same party, except they disagree on a few things.
If you look at the polls, they care about exactly what you'd expect them to care about, which is the quality of their own lives. So they care about the economy and they care about crime. This is very obvious. You don't even need to look at polling to know it, but every poll shows it with maximum clarity. So how do the media respond to this? Well, of course, doing their job. They've done everything possible to minimize both issues, the economy and crime. They've told us the economy is not in a recession. No, it's not. When, of course, by every measure, it is very much in a recession.
I think it's
everywhere.
And on
crime, they've told you don't even talk about it. Only racists worry about crime. Racists, the one thing you don't want to be called. So how should Republicans respond to that?
I have to say that I wouldn't want to be called racist. Like, I things I would want to be called is a good person and empathetic, caring. Things I wouldn't want to be called are racist, anti-Semitic, phobic. It's not a hard thing to do. You have to say, you have the option to be like a good human being, or you have the option to be a piece of shit. It's not hard. Okay, I don't like that person. Why is it? If it's because he said something bad, that's reasonable. Is it because of the color of his skin? Yeah, that's not reasonable.
Well, we have video evidence. Here's Kari Lake, who's running for governor in Arizona, deftly swatting away a reporter's claim that somehow people of color like crime. Watch this.
A lot of people of color feel like they're
A lot of people
targeted.
of color. A lot of people of color. How many people of color have you talked to about that?
I mean, if you look at surveys,
Which surveys? I'm happy to look at those stats because I will tell you this: that I talk to people of color.
Okay, well, I have to like say one thing. I don't know the candidate, I don't know the stuff, but dismissing surveys from news outlets in the United States isn't actually a dumb thing to do, considering they are 100% manipulated by the higher ups, and that's been proven in the past couple of elections that every fucking survey and a poll is completely manipulated to serve the cause of that particular news outlet. And I don't know how the fuck have they dropped the ball, because it's not hard to make like polls and statistics and with random people. We do that really well in Europe. Why the fuck can't the United States do the same?
I talked to all Arizonans.
Okay, the answer of this woman is actually a wrong one. Like, personal biases has no place in like peer review statistics.
They're all concerned about the crime.
Even if she's talked to 100 people of color, it doesn't mean shit. It's your personal experience. It's like the reason why Andrew Tate got so much shit was his personal experience, and he was using that instead of a peer review study. And he got shit on because of that. And it was the right thing to do, because the peer review study about women driving, for example, proved that Andrew Tate's personal experiences were wrong. So why does it reflect this governor? She's not the governor yet, but Carrie Lake. Why does it reflect this? It's basically the same thing. He's dismissing the study, the poll that the journalist is saying by talking about her own experiences. Unfortunately, when we're talking about statistics, your own experience doesn't really mean shit.
Just because your skin isn't the same color as yours doesn't mean you want your kids to be walking down the street in an unsafe neighborhood. Every Arizonan wants safety and security in their neighborhood. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. And if you look at stats, you will look and see that police do not target people of color. That is a lie that's been perpetuated by the left and then spread and disseminated and respread in the media. Check the stats.
It's so great. So the reporter says, well, people of color are concerned about your crime policies. Because, of course, being a white liberal, all white liberals know, if they know one thing, that they have a right to speak for, quote, people of color. Not to people of color, something they rarely do, but for, on behalf of people of color. So Carrie Lake just stops right there. Really? What people of color have you talked to? Republican.
I just love when Tucker Carlson completely loses and then makes that fucking fake laugh. It's a joy to hear that. It's like a child's laughter, like perfection. He has perfected that.
All Republicans running for office should watch that video. But in the end, you don't need to convince people that crime is real, because they live here too. Crime is everywhere. In New York, crime on public transit is up more than 40%. And not just pickpocketing. Now, this video that we're about to show you is not an aberration necessarily. It just so happens this was caught on tape. But this is exactly the reason that people are afraid to ride the subway. This weekend, a man was pushed onto the tracks. You can guess the motive, actually, from watching this video. But we know with no warning whatsoever. Here it is.
32-year-old David Martin is afraid for his safety after this random attack. He's in physical and emotional pain as he continues to replay this horrifying moment caught on camera over and over again. In this video, you can see that guy in the yellow hoodie shove him right onto the subway tracks. He zeroed in on the innocent commuter and then charged right at him. Martin ended up in the hospital, just grateful to be alive.
Oh, this random attack. There are a lot of random attacks on the internet, you may have noticed. Are they random?
Well, that was a shitty thing to do.
The
I hope
person
he
who
gets
did that is not
prosecuted.
being sought as a hate criminal. You wonder why. But the point
like, if you incite that it was a hate crime, you need to just prove that it was a hate crime. Did he push that other person there because he was different religion, different gender, different race? The burden of proof is now on Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson insinuated that it was a hate crime. There was no talks about it being a hate crime. I saw nothing about it. And Tucker Carlson is only showing us this clip, nothing else. So the burden of proof that was a possible hate crime is actually at Tucker Carlson, but he's apparently trying to change the subject, which is one of his tactics to just like control the herd. That they won't start asking as many questions as I am asking.
The point is, those kinds of attacks didn't used to happen. Now they're commonplace enough that you may no longer be shocked by them. But if you live there, you stay off the subway as a result. Crime in Philadelphia is completely out of control. For example, last year, Philadelphia recorded 562 murders. That is the highest homicide total since 1960. That happens to be the year the city started tracking homicide data. This year in Philadelphia, crimes like robbery with a gun are up 47%. Now, why is this happening? It's not an accident. None of this is an accident. Crime is rising as a direct result of policies designed to make crime rise. And at the same time, any effort by normal people, middle-class people, to defend themselves is immediately
we're talking about
with
guns.
the full ferocity of the state. So this is an attempt, of course, to destroy the American middle class. Let's just be honest about it. This is crime with a purpose. They don't want to have this conversation, the people who did this, and that's why they attack you personally and morally if you bring it up. So in Philadelphia, a lot of these crimes can be traced to one man, Soros-backed DA Larry Krasner. He's decided not to charge many robbers with crimes. Arrests and charges for retail theft in Philadelphia have dropped by about 70%.
We can talk about that, like that's like something we could talk about instead of like guns, because we know that Tucker Carlson and majority of the Americans are wrong about guns and how to prevent gun violence. But we can talk about letting petty theft go unpunished. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. If you're a first-time offender, I think you should be let go with a warning. If you're a second-time offender, I think you should get fined. If you do it a third time, you should probably spend a little time in the jail. I think there should be always a 3-strike system. Even in Finland, you're not thrown into jail the first time you rob a place, and we don't have mass robberies every fucking day. That doesn't work like that. There are always going to be bad people. There are always going to be like people who don't give a fuck. But there should be a 3-strike system. And I think throwing people in jail the first time, well, okay, he was saying something about robbing the store with a gun. Well, that changes everything. Then it's not a 3-strike system anymore. It's probably going to be the first time you will get fined, and after that you're going to go to jail if you do it again.
Over the past 4 years. In that same period, reports of robberies jumped more than 20%. You see how this works? If you stop charging people with certain crimes, they commit more of them.
That's not true. You can watch any statistic in the Nordic countries or Europe, and that's not true. I think it's again, like I've talked this about gun safety, and I'm talking about this with a lot of laws and a lot of differences between the Americans and the Europeans. It's about culture. The American culture is based on violence, and the European culture isn't. That's the main difference. I think the Americans need a culture change in order to implement a lot of good things from Europe, for example.
That seems like an obvious observation. And again, it's more evidence this is not an accident. Larry Krasner is not an idiot. None of these people are stupid. They're doing this on purpose. They're trying to destroy. Now, why are they doing that? Well, we can't guess as to motive, but they're definitely doing it. So when asked about this, how does Larry Krasner respond? Shut up, racist! Watch.
We're just looking at Philly right now in a superheated election cycle where part of the Republican playbook, as you well know, is to point a finger at large, diverse cities and say large, diverse cities are lawless. What we see here is the same old playbook, which is about coded and racist messaging. It's about blaming the biggest city in Pennsylvania with the most diverse population for having the same national struggle that we have with gun violence everywhere.
Oh, diversity, racism, diversity, racism. Shut up, shut up, shut up. So here you have another white liberal deputizing himself to speak for people of color against his
Wasn't he the mayor? So basically he has the authority to speak on behalf of people in Philly. If he's the mayor of Philadelphia.
Political opponents. Have you figured out how this works? You getting tired of it yet? Voters are getting very tired of this. So tired of it that even some Democrats have started to figure out, actually, maybe voters don't want to be shot, raped, or carjacked. And then
okay, let's make a guessing game. Will Tucker Carlson provide any statistics, any evidence of this claim other than some fucking misplaced clip?
attacked morally if they don't like it. Kathy Hochul, who is in part responsible for the rising crime in New York, is now running last-ditch ads promising to fight crime. Oh, really, Kathy Hochul? But it's probably too late for her. She's losing to a Republican in New York. Pennsylvania is almost as Democratic as New York is, but the lieutenant governor now running for Senate.
So, no proof at all. The proof that Tucker Carlson was running with was a candidate going against crime. A Democratic candidate going against crime. That was his proof. Really?
There, John Fetterman is also losing for the same reasons, we guess. His challenger is...
Like, I don't get it. What's the appeal of Tucker Carlson? Okay, I can just see. See it in the fucking comments. But yeah, I don't know. Abortions are good, guns are bad. You can't be pro-life about abortions if you're not pro-life about gun laws. I'm gonna make a gun rant here at the end, and then I'm gonna end the stream because I've streamed too long already. If you are against abortions because you're pro-life, you should be against gun. You should be against the Second Amendment because that would be the pro-life also. If you're for the Second Amendment, you can't be pro-life for abortions because Second Amendment and the right to bear arms and guns in the United States cause more deaths a year than abortions do, because abortions aren't really killing people. Majority of the time, of course, there's like late-term abortion, but they are illegal. They are done illegally also. And you're not, that only proves if you're for war and for guns and weapons. You're not pro-life, you're anti-abortion. I don't know why it's so fucking hard to say that you're just anti-abortion because of your religious beliefs. You don't have to say pro-life because it can be debunked by bringing up guns. And you would immediately fold. Like, it would be easier for the Republicans also to say that they are against abortions instead of pro-life. Because nobody could really fucking argue that. Yeah, you're against abortions because of religious beliefs. That's fine. You can believe that. But saying pro-life, first off, you're like twisting science. And second of all, you're not pro-life because you're for war, military, guns. Like, what's the mass shooting counting for the United States? Mass shootings in the US. Total gun violence death is 36,000. Mass shootings 559. What? We're in October. And there has been 559 mass shootings. And you fake that you're pro-life about abortions, but you want guns in your country. So apparently United States has the monopoly for mass shootings. Not a huge surprise for anybody who knows anything about like real statistics about guns. Because if you have a large quantity of guns, you have a large quantity of mass shootings. So don't say you're pro-life because you really aren't. You just say you're anti-abortion. You're still an asshole, but at least you're not a hypocrite.